wonder, secrets unfold. True crime stories, let the intrigue be told. Grab a seat, get cozy, let's dive into the plot. With Mac J by my side, there's so much to be sought. Mods from the stars, they light up the night. Chillin' with Van, everything feels just right. Welcome to the mystery, the thrill, the thrill we embrace. Solving cases together we'll trace. With Tabby and Maggie, the journey's begun. With laughter and stories, we'll shine like the sun. Spirit Time vibes with Lisa and Mark. Tia and Mel igniting the spark. According to Lean, curiosity flows. A curious rose in a garden of woes. Sweet misery whispers, tales that enthrall. While Matt, Meg, and Jody, we gather them all. Welcome to the mystery, the thrill we embrace. Solving cases together we'll trace. With Tabby and Maggie, the journey's begun. With laughter and stories, we'll shine like the sun. So come along, join the fun tonight. In Aussie true crime, everything feels so right.
Hey, new members. New members, and hey, everyone, how are you?
Hey, everyone.
So good to be back and to have everything working. I was very lucky. I ended up getting a new computer, what I kind of knew was coming for my birthday.
Awesome.
And everything's fixed. Everything's working. I do want to apologize first, though. My granddaughter is still awake. It's only 7:30 here, so it's just on her bedtime. She is in bed, but she'd rather play right now because she knows Nan's life. So if we do hear her in the background, I apologize. But yes, we've got beautiful Jody here.
Hi, Jody.
Yep. I did give out some memberships. Mrs. T got one. Megan L, Regina, and friends from Crime Chat, Rachel and Chick Tracy all got some memberships tonight.
Awesome.
So we're doing William again, because it's our Wednesday for William. The last one we did on William was when we done the episode 2, and we touched on the biological parents because the reporter was looking for Karlie. I found a Sunday night episode. Now, there was 3 parts to this episode, but this clip that I've got has all 3 parts, and it's actually Karlie talking. So I thought now's the perfect time that we could watch it and go over what she was thinking. This one was done in 2018, so it's 4 years after William went missing. I think it was a long time before it came out that William was a foster child, and even longer for the biological parents to actually come out. So yes. we found this clip, and we've also found an article. Now, the article was 2018 as well, so it was still 4 years after William went missing. but I sent it to Mac J, and we think it's a pretty good breakdown of everything that was going on. So we want to share that as well, and then move on to part 3. Hopefully this time me and Mac J don't get cranky at the guy.
Yes.
So Richie Swan is the channel that I'm taking this one from, but it was a Sunday night episode, and it's Melissa Doyle, who, most Australians know the show. Melissa Doyle, that one that does the Sunday night.
Yeah.
The reporter. And it was the 6th of March, 2018. I'm just trying to find the link because I want to share that. And of course it didn't. I'll put all the links into the description. It's not going to share this one. I'll make sure I put them all in the description. All right. I'm trying to play it from StreamYard.
This is Sunday night. Hello, I'm Melissa Doyle. It's an image you can't forget. The little superhero, William Tyrrell, in his Spider-Man suit. The photograph taken the day he vanished without a trace. Since then, thousands of words have been written. Countless news reports have been broadcast. But they haven't ever told the whole story, the real story of William's life and his mother, Karlie. How are you doing?
I'm coping. Yeah, not that good, like the best I can with what I'm given.
How tough is it?
Very tough.
What's the hardest part?
Not having my kids.
Do you just feel like you're on your own?
Yes. Well, I have my 2 younger boys, but yeah, they're not meant to be there to look after me.
It's 3.5 years since Karlie Tyrrell's world was torn apart. 3.5 long years since her precious son, William, disappeared. The little boy in the Spider-Man suit vanished from his foster grandmother's home at Kendal on the New South Wales mid-north coast. And time has not lessened any of the hurt. Have you got a good support network around you? Have you got friends, family?
I pretty much isolated myself a lot, but yeah, I do have, a few good people.
Why have you isolated yourself?
Because I felt like I was the worst mum in the world.
You're not, you're not.
I know.
For 4 long days, an army of volunteers and police have searched for little William Tyrrell, and still not a single clue.
We'll continue with a very open mind and we'll look at all avenues.
It was and remains one of the most baffling crimes in Australia's history. 3-year-old William Tyrrell, 1 minute playing happily in the front yard of his foster grandmother's home. The next, gone. And in the days that follow, the hope of finding a little boy lost in the bush gives way to the certainty that William has been abducted, taken by a person or persons unknown. Every parent's nightmare. Do you just feel like you're in this every day you get up, it's still going on? It must be hell.
It is. It's the worst. I'd rather die.
Tonight, Karlie Tyrrell speaks for the first time, revealing what led to her son being placed in foster care.
I just made bad choices.
Answering malicious rumours that she was responsible for William's disappearance.
Did you have anything to do with it?
And the bombshell, the daughter Karlie wants back, William's older sister.
Why do you want to talk now? Why are you talking to me?
Because I pretty much don't know where else to turn now. And yeah, I want my boys and my kids.
One thing I've got to say is this mum is one of the bravest mums that I think I know. Not that I know her personally, but the things that we've watched her go through. You know what I mean? She's still... I'm not saying she was the best one at the start. I know she's done her things that were wrong, but the things that she's been through, to the fact that she's still standing, even here, that she's still in this interview. I know she's giving herself a hard time, but I think she's so brave.
Oh, definitely.
Jodie, so do I. Yeah. This is one case that's always breaks my heart. Always has.
Yeah.
Still, like, all my kids to have a good life. Like, I want this to end and William to come home. And, yeah. You seem nice enough to talk to.
This is the story you haven't been allowed to hear. For nearly 3 years, the Australian public was led to believe that the couple caring for William at the time of his disappearance were his parents. It was only last year, when a suppression order was overturned in the New South Wales Supreme Court, that the truth could be revealed, that William was in foster care and that his birth mother was a young woman named Karlie Tyrrell.
Because I haven't come out and said anything, of course, people are going to assume I don't care. And that's okay, because I know that I do. So I don't really let it, I don't let other people get to me like, yeah, it makes me angry. But yeah, I'm more angry with, like, the system.
Do you think they were too quick to judge?
Their judgment doesn't bother me really, but yeah, I'm not a bad person. I'm not a bad mum.
Karlie's story is all too familiar. At age 19, she began a romance with a troubled young man named Brendan Collins, a relationship that would soon be blighted by alcohol, drugs and violence.
It wasn't working when my kids come first, so I had to leave, and that was probably like 3 years ago. Yeah, we've been separated, like fully separate, like not in a relationship, but we've had contact for the children. But yeah, I don't want him in their life.
Why?
Because I just don't.
I mean, or, you know.
Unless he wants to show that he's safe to be around the kids and myself.
Where is he?
I think in jail.
Karlie has had 4 children with Brendan Collins. First a daughter, then William, then the 2 boys who live with her now. But from the start, motherhood was challenging for Karlie.
Can you tell me what happened? How it all began?
I don't know.
At the moment, Karlie does still have the 2 younger boys with her, and she also has the older daughter back in her care. It did take a long time. I think it was only like about 2 years ago that the oldest daughter was returned, but she does have all 3, and I do know her and Brendan are still separated. They never got back together.
I just made bad choices and I wasn't ready, I guess, to have my daughter. But yeah, then I wanted to do everything I could to, yeah, be the best mum I could be. So I did everything, and yeah, I'm still trying to do everything I can. but I don't know what else to do.
What sort of mum did you think you would be?
Like a nurturing mum, a caring, loving, yeah, a good mum.
And were you?
Yes.
Tell me about William when he was born, what he was like, how you were.
I dressed him in like little flannelette pajamas. Yeah, it was so cute. And then the nurses had never seen a baby in like little pajamas before. Yeah, it was nice.
But for Karlie, there was heartbreak when her first child, William's big sister, was placed in foster care.
Can you tell me what happened?
Because I had domestic violence and drug and alcohol, marijuana. When I had to do a drug screen, I tested positive after I'd had my children. Yeah.
I guess nobody can imagine.
Because of my anxiety, like it's not an excuse, but yeah, I've just always used marijuana to cope with my anxiety and everything because I don't really like taking medication.
But after...
And think about it now. The sad thing is how many Australians now are taking marijuana CBD, but how many of us are taking CBD? Like, I know I take it for my pain, but how many people are taking it now in Australia? Like, that's what she had her children removed for. Not saying it was legal the way she was doing it, but as she said, she was taking it for anxiety. That's sad.
It was really sad.
After losing her daughter, Karlie had no intention of giving up William. She took her newborn son, and the pair was on the run for 6 weeks.
So yeah, I absconded with him.
Being a mum, weren't you?
Yeah. No way am I handing over my kid.
But Karlie's efforts were fruitless. When William was 9 months old, he joined his sister with his new foster parents, a professional couple living in Sydney's leafy North Shore, who by all accounts provided them with a loving and caring home.
In the beginning, were you allowed to see them much?
Yes. I saw them 3 times a week, yeah, so that's why my daughter and William had such a close bond. Yeah. Because I always made sure that they would got to see each other.
But the lives of all who love William are about to change in a way no one can imagine. It's the afternoon of Thursday, September 11, 2014. William's foster parents have finished work in Sydney. They're headed up the coast a day earlier than planned to see Nana with 3-year-old William and his 4-year-old sister in the back. After a 3-hour drive, they arrive at the house on Benaroon Drive in Kendall. The next morning, William's foster dad leaves the house briefly to find better mobile reception for a business call. William's foster mum and grandmother sit outside having a cup of tea while the children play happily in the garden, William in his favourite Spider-Man outfit.
He was playing. He was having fun. He was
His Spider-Man outfit.
in his Spider-Man outfit playing Daddy Tiger. I think back to that moment where I just went, I can't hear him. Why can't I hear him? And I walked around. It was just 2 meters, 3 meters away from where we were sitting. And I've just walked out and I just see nothing.
William?
I see nothing. I hear nothing.
William!
Little William has been playing hide and seek in the backyard with his sister. His foster mum and grandma are enjoying a cup of tea in the sun when they take their eyes off him for just a moment and the lively little boy disappears. It's a big block. There's lots of trees and places for a small child to hide. The 2 women search everywhere, right down to the street. You can imagine their growing panic, but William has vanished.
William!
I'm yelling out, William, where are you? You need to talk to Mummy. Tell me where you are. I can't see you. I can't hear you. Where are you?
William?
And he was nowhere. And I'm just standing there thinking, how could he just disappear? Because he just disappeared. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Police emergency, this is Simone.
Yeah, hi, my son is missing. He's 3.5. Sorry?
What's your address?
Benaroon Drive, Kendall.
Okay, Benaroon Drive in Kendall?
Yes.
All right, I'm just going to bring that up on my map. I'll wait a moment.
Thank you.
How long has he been missing?
We've been looking for him now for about 15 or 20 minutes.
And so begins a desperate search that within hours will involve hundreds of neighbours, SES volunteers and police. Back in Sydney, an 8 months pregnant Karlie is out shopping for baby things, unaware that William has gone missing.
I thought I was having a girl anyway. Like, I was told it was a girl, so I was buying pink blankets and stuff on the day.
But Karlie has barely arrived home when her world is shattered.
Police were knocking on the door, asking, like, if I knew where William was, and started searching the house. Like, I was in shock.
What did they say to you?
They asked if William was here.
The startled officers find a little boy playing in the backyard. They think it's William. It's not. It's Karlie's second son, William's younger brother.
I was like, no, that's my son. Like, that's not William. William's not even in my care. Like, I don't know why you come in to ask me. And, yeah, they had a quick look around.
So does that mean that they didn't really think that you had him?
I don't know. Well, they could have looked a bit better. Not that I did have him, but, yeah, their police skills weren't very high standards.
Were you in shock?
Yeah, totally. Like, I didn't cry. I didn't have any reaction.
Police initially looked closely at both families for a suspect.
And I had police coming to see me every day, yeah, getting followed, just everything. I just wanted to keep, like, my pregnancy. Like, I didn't want to get stressed out. Yeah. And then after I had the baby, I didn't know what to do about William.
The search and rescue mission for William now becomes a manhunt for his abductor, one of the biggest investigations ever conducted by New South Wales Police. But investigators have little to go on. William's foster mother recalls seeing 2 cars parked across the road earlier that morning, but no one else saw anything.
Brad, this is a really quiet cul-de-sac. It's out of the way. It's not as though cars just go past. So does that say to you that somebody has specifically come in here to target William rather than it being a random occurrence?
Mel, whoever's come in and taken William have come in with a particular purpose. There's no reason to drive into the street. It's a dead-end street. You've got to take a number of turns. It's not an area that's easily found. And there's no reason to be passing through. You can't pass through.
Brad Jones is a forensic psychologist and former police officer with the New South Wales Major Crime Squad.
It's a bold move to come here in the middle of the day to abduct a child, isn't it?
It is, Mel. It's very bold. It's an area that would not be easily found. They're newcomers and they would be identified as foreigners to the area.
Being in the mind of an abductor, what is their thought process at that time?
There's a sense of excitement. There's a heightened awareness, an increase in heart rate, breathing, thinking probably goes a lot quicker. Once having considered what they were about to do, if they were going to take the boy, then there's a worry as far as who might see me, how do I prepare for that, how do I prevent being identified.
They would have to have known what they were doing.
Not so much that they necessarily know what they're doing. In in the sense that they have extensive experience in stealing children. But the ability to approach a child without having the child get fearful or scared, that's a skill.
And that led police to believe that William was snatched by a pedophile. While the foster parents and the biological parents have been ruled out as suspects, that hasn't stopped the rumours and innuendo.
Do people think you had anything to do with it?
I think so.
Did you have anything to do with it?
No. I was at Blacktown shopping. I showed the police my ATM receipt, my docket, everything.
I fully believe her there. I don't believe in any way that the bio parents had anything to do with this.
Me neither. You can just like feel her emotions when she speaks, and it's all over her face. But with the like step parents, you know, when they speak, it's like completely different.
And do you know what I mean? People have got to realise, for people who followed this case from the start, this is the look and the conversations that everyone was expecting out of the foster mum. Because at the start, we all thought she was the mum. Do you know what I mean? It took, as I said, 2 to 3 years. They said a year before this. So 3 years for it to come out. And it was Alana Smith, I think her last name was, who actually fought through the courts for it to come out. I mean, we didn't see that, and that's why a lot of people in Australia were confused at this case, because, as we've mentioned, do you know what I mean, the foster parents 2 weeks after William went missing was in Bali drinking up, and the photos were put on Instagram. So the way they were acting to this being 4 years later, and we can still, as you just said, still see the hurt in her face. You still see the emotions. She's still blaming herself for what happened, even though she knows quite clearly, do you know what I mean, it wasn't her. Just
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, she was let down by the department just as much as William was. That's something I've said from day one, and I'll always say.
Plus, that guy on the last live was a complete DICK.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I said I hope in the thing we don't get cranky again.
I couldn't believe, I still can't believe it.
Do you think the foster family that was taking care of William feel guilt?
They should. I don't want to blame the carers, but yeah, they were responsible for looking after him, and they failed. She went inside and made a cup of tea. If that's the case, okay, that's an accident and that's unfortunate, but it doesn't make any sense to me. Kids don't just go missing.
But William's foster parents were also heartbroken.
We need to know where he is, and we need to know what happened to him, because we can't live forever like this.
Go, William.
From the start, the investigation has been clouded in secrecy. The identity of both Karlie and the foster parents was suppressed, leading some to suggest this hindered the investigation.
I think it's very likely that the veil that surrounded the biological parents probably made the investigation more difficult, certainly in those initial days, weeks and months.
Bruce Malcolm knows better than any parent what it is to have a child missing. When his son Daniel disappeared in 2003, Bruce and his wife Denise made it their mission to ensure nobody ever forgot. 8 long years later, Daniel's killer, Brett Peter Cowan, was finally caught.
Any investigator will tell you the first 24 to 48 hours is critical in casting the net. That certainly was the case in Daniel's situation, where there was an enormous volume of information provided initially, and that all was because the public got behind the family's personal appeal. And both the biological and the foster parents should be made available, if they wish to make that public appeal, because it is critical in gathering information.
How do you cope? How do you get up day after day and just not give up hope?
It's very much about wanting to contribute to the investigation, and that at least allows you to put your head on your pillow at the end of the day. As sad as that is, at least you can rest thinking, I've done my bit, and tomorrow I'm going to do something else to try and find the answers here.
When William first went missing, just that urge to scream for help and tell everyone and get them to find him, and you weren't able to.
I don't know, because he was...
Megan, I have done a live before on Daniel Morecambe as well, and gone into it. It was a very interesting case because of the way that they caught Brett Cowan as well. And there was one of the specialist police officers that worked on his case that also has worked on William's. So yeah, it is in my lives. I have done his story before.
Was in care, was it was in the best interest of William, like finding William, that I let the carers do everything. I thought it was best. I thought that was the best way, because they're professional, they know what they're doing. Like, I didn't want to go on news being like angry or anything, making anything worse. It didn't mean I didn't love him.
Was that hard though?
Yes. Very hard.
William Tyrrell has disappeared, and in this quiet mid-North Coast haven, police have been forced to acknowledge the chilling possibility that there could be a paedophile network, with a reported 20 registered sex offenders living in the surrounding Kendall area. 3 in particular have made headlines. One, a person who for legal reasons we are unable to identify. Then there's Tony Jones.
Want it, Smash? Tony Jones,
only recently released from jail for the indecent assault of a young girl. And his friend, Paul Bickford, also convicted of indecent assault of a minor. All 3 have denied any involvement in William's disappearance.
What do you think happened to William?
Well, I don't like to speculate. It's not nice. So I don't really know. That's all I want to know. Yeah. I don't know.
Do you think he's out there somewhere?
I hope so. And I want my daughter, like, I want my kids to be together. They're meant to be together, like a brother and sister.
Okay, so anyone that's watching this, anyone that's going to see you, what do you say to them? What can we do?
Don't hurt him. Just let him come home. He hasn't even met his little brother yet. It's not fair. Yeah. I don't know what else.
Do you think someone has him?
I guess so. Where else could he be? He's not in the bush.
Do you feel that he's alive?
Yeah, and I feel like whoever has him needs a bullet.
Karlie's belief that William is still alive is not just a mother's wishful thinking. Investigators and experts share her optimism.
Do you think he will ever be found alive?
I'm hopeful that he is. I'm hopeful that he is. Certainly there's nothing that the police have found, and there's nothing been presented that would ever suggest that he's not alive. And I, like the investigators and probably everyone else, are of the opinion that he's alive, and with any luck and efforts, he'll come home.
If William is still alive, he'll turn 7 in June.
No, I did. Lick your fingers, lick your hand. Happy birthday, William.
I don't want to upset you, but what do you do to mark his birthdays?
Nothing really, because it's my birthday as well.
It must be a strange day.
Yeah, I just pretend it's not happening. Like, I want to celebrate it in a way, but then it feels like it doesn't feel right. Especially with my 4-year-old. So, let's go celebrate your missing brother's birthday. I can't do that to them. Yeah.
Is there anything that you do privately to remember him?
I just have a tattoo that's his star sign and my daughter's star sign. That's what my tattoos are. Both my kids' star signs.
Yeah. So they're really close to you.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Having both of her children taken into foster care was deeply traumatic for Karlie. Her daughter is still with the same family that William was abducted from.
What would have been the best course for your children, the best thing?
Just to better support for domestic violence with for women that have kids, so they can leave and not be put in that position, not have the kids put in that position.
Should they have stayed with you?
Yes. Yes.
Is that where you feel that it let you down?
Yeah, and it didn't matter what I did. I just wasn't ever good enough.
Karlie says that she feels like the worst mother in the world. What would you say to her?
I have no doubt that's not the case. You just cannot tear yourself apart. It is very much about you cannot undo what's already happened, and there are always regrets. It's been an incredible, difficult number of years for the family and everybody concerned.
Do you want to, Little Miss Sharon has a question.
At the start, Miss Sharon, they said they thought he was abducted. There's been many avenues that they're going down or have gone down. The last one was that, so when Gary Jubelin got taken off the case, they had New Eyes look at it, and they brought out, I think it was about 4 years ago or 3 years ago, they started looking into it, whether William actually fell from the top balcony and that the foster mother took William's body and disposed of it. But even with that, they did do a lot of extensive searching. I think it went for 3 weeks. They also had big machines that could see underneath the cement because there was a new garage built at the grandmother's house. Do you know what I mean? They checked under there. We still don't know to this day what exactly happened. There's every avenue they've gone down. We've never had enough proof to say 100% yes, that is or isn't what's happened. They have had a coroner inquest on this case. I think the first one went for, if I remember correctly, about a year and a half, almost 2 years. and then they went back for another 6 months, and I think they sat about 3 months of it, and then the judge came up and said that was it. She didn't want to hear anymore. She didn't want to see anymore, and that she would give us an answer sometime this year. So that's what we're waiting for. And as we know, do you know what I mean? She can just come back and say she wants more evidence. And we're left exactly where we are now. But my heart breaks for this mother so much. She makes me cry. She was crying earlier, and I'm sitting here fighting back tears because it's just... Oh.
Yeah, exactly. I had tears well up in my eyes at the start of this. I'm just like, I can't. I gotta hold it back.
I just don't understand how they could hide his body so well that he hasn't been found. Well, for the first couple of years, they weren't. Do you know what I mean? My biggest thing with this case, and this is something that's always affected me because this case is something that was always close to my heart. When he first went missing, they weren't looking for a body. They were looking for William. Do you know what I mean? He was only a missing child. It wasn't even, they didn't even think abduction straight away. They were just looking for William. So we don't know where she put it, but even by the time they started looking for it, it was years later, and it would have been degraded. Like, I can't think of the word now. Like his body, I can't think of the word. It's on my tongue. But yeah. But do you know what I mean? It's not what they were looking for. And even now they've gone back and they found clothing in the last search, but they still couldn't prove it. Some of it they thought was part of the Spider-Man suit. Some of it they thought was part of the mum's, the foster mother's T-shirt that she was wearing at McDonald's the night before. But yeah, there's just nothing to fully prove it. What about where the dad went? The foster father went into Port Macquarie to take some phone calls, and this is something that Mac J brought up. It's funny that he didn't have reception for his work calls, but when it came to the foster mother calling out, she had no problem with reception for that. Yep. And I know Kendall's just off the highway. It wasn't that bad of an area for reception. If you know the info now, why wait? Well, they just don't have enough to fully say that's what there is. You know what I mean? There's everyone that has their opinions, but until they have enough to indict or charge, they're not going to. And they have tried. Do you know what I mean? They've put things to the DPP in the last, when they thought that they were looking for William. Do you know what I mean? There was things in there against the foster mother, and it just never panned out. We then had the charges come out against the foster parents to the older daughter. And yeah, that's where we are now. I'll have to look to see if there is any more court cases for them from the DPP.
Yeah. Hopefully we get answers, more answers this year.
Can you write that to me tomorrow to have a look for the court case dates for this? Because I'll go in and have a look and see if we've got any more for the DPP ones.
Yep, I can do that.
But have no fear. Like Daniel, William is loved by the whole of Australia, and we will not rest until we find that answer and who's responsible.
Yeah.
It's been hard for Karlie to do this interview. She's intensely private and still struggling. but finally feels going public has given her the chance to help find her son.
If he's sitting somewhere and he's watching a telly and he can see you and you can see him through that, what would you say to him?
I love you so much. I miss you. Oh, fuck.
Okay, you'll come home tonight.
Okay.
Sorry, Ben.
It's okay.
Do you feel like you're strong?
Yeah.
You are?
No one will break me. They just need their mom. That's all they need is their mom.
And there's a $1 million reward for information that leads police to William. So if you know anything about the disappearance, please contact Crime Stoppers. The details are on our website and Facebook page.
Okay. So that was, as I said, that was just something that I thought gave us a better understanding of how Karlie was feeling. Do you know what I mean? I know every interview I have seen, not that there's been a lot, but the ones I have, she has always been just as emotional, just as heartbroken, just as you'd expect from a mum, if that makes sense. Okay. So I need to take that one off and so I'm going to be on the other screen with this one, so I'm not going to see chat, so just yell out if you need me.
Okay.
So this was new revelations about the day that William Tyrrell disappeared, but as I said, this is dated January 19th, 2018. So it's like 3.5, 4 years. And of course, that's beautiful, William. I think it's a photo that's edged in every Australian's head now. So stunning new revelations about the day William disappeared have been exposed as the grandmother in the nation's most baffling missing child's case speaks out. An exclusive interview, Natalie Collins has taken news.com through the lead up of William's kidnapping and what happened on the morning before he was abducted. So Natalie Collins was mentioned in the last podcast, and she is the mother of Brendan, who is the biological father of William. So she's William's biological grandmother. William's abduction on September 12, 2014 sparked one of the biggest manhunts in Australian history. Natalie said that a last-minute change to William's plans was made, which placed him at that house for where he was abducted. She also revealed William's very close relationship with his biological father. Even after the boy was removed from his son's care, on the last occasion that Brendan Collis and William's mother, Karlie, saw their son, the 3-year-old clung to Brendan and cried, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy, I love you." Natalie told news.com. There's a photo soon that you see of it too. Natalie told news.com she had divulged further details about how and why William was taken from his birth parents and what has transpired since. So there's William. I'm going to try and take this off the big. Can you see that better? So this one is of Karlie and Brendan. So they are the biological parents of William. What have you done? No. Okay, it wants to stay that size. I'll just have to keep pressing on them to bring them in. That one's William again. And William. I don't know why this won't go off the larger screen. She also revealed why she doesn't like the iconic Spider-Man suit worn by William, who will turn 7 years old in June this year if he's still alive. So as I said, this was 2014. She spoke with news.com in a bid to get her now troubled son Brendan proper drug rehabilitation and mental health counselling. While she detected a glimmer of the old Brendan recently, she said he doesn't even know what day it is. He's too far out on the DRUGS. She said despair over William's disappearance and the use of the DRUG ICE had him raging alone in his bedroom. He started calling me I'm not going to say that word, when really he is a sweet person and no dummy. He just needs help. Can someone please help us? Brendan is now in Silverwater Prison in Sydney's West, awaiting sentencing on minor charges. But Natalie said the 35-year-old who did not drink alcohol or take drugs before William vanished was in such a state he needed urgent special care. She said Brendan started using and became skinny, disorientated, and hoards kids' clothes and toys since William's kidnapping. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was, and then I could see you reading, so I just stopped.
It's all right.
I just wanted to ask about Silverwater Prison. That's is that one of the big prisons or one of the smaller prisons? Like, you know how they got...
No, Silverwater's a big one. He was in and out a lot. I know it said there that he wasn't taking the ICE before William, so they were in trouble for obviously the domestic violence and the DRUG taking, but it was marijuana that they were taking then. After William went missing is when Brendan really went off the rails and lost it. Do you know what I mean? He was in and out of jail. I think he still is now. He became addicted. And as we've seen, Karlie moved on. Karlie's had more children. I'm not saying she's moved on, but you know what I mean? Like, she's still part of everything, but Brendan never did. And that last visit they were talking about where he was saying, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy," that was also a visit where William had turned up to that. Like, it was a supervised contact, and William turned up with bruises on his face that were reported at that visit.
Oh, yeah, that was terrible. I don't know how they kept them so long, to be honest.
He's schizo. He points and talks to himself, does not shut up, but he's not getting the treatment he needs, she said. He buys presents. He has all his key rings hanging off his hat, and he hoards clothes and stuff. He never really got over the day welfare workers saw him and Karlie at the video store and then took William away. So this is Brendan's mum, the nana that's telling us or telling the story. And she has been very vigilant. She was at every day of the inquest. Do you know what I mean? She's been there through all of it.
It's
just another one of the house. So, Miss Sharon, this is probably a better one to show you of the balcony. And this is where they thought that he had come out one of the doors or the windows and had fallen off this balcony. They did do a lot of the like forensic tests and everything along this garden. I know they emptied that water tank as well, was completely emptied and forensically checked as well.
Ozzy, do you know if they forensically checked the clothes they found, or was the DNA too destroyed?
They did, but we never heard. So do you mean, I know there was quite a few things that they kept when they done the last search. One of the most important was a bit of red material that we thought could have been part of the Spider-Man suit. But we never heard whether it was. It just went to the inquest, I'm assuming, or I mean, it was part of the part that was kept from us. And there was another shirt, like a piece of material that they thought was from the shirt. I think I've shown you the photo when they were at McDonald's the day before or the night before when they were traveling down. There was a shirt that the foster mother was wearing, and there was a piece of material that they think could have came from that shirt. But again, do you know what I mean? Once it got sent away for testing, we never heard any more.
Okay. I wasn't sure on that one.
Yeah. So that's William again. He's so beautiful. His smile was so beautiful. So this is Natalie, the grandmother again. I'd given the bond money to hide out for 3 months, and they were caught and told me they were taking William away. Brendan, died that day. Like, not literally he did, but now Natalie wants Brendan to receive proper rehabilitation because she is sure her grandson William has passed. When it happened, I just knew I have a feeling that things like this, and I knew William was never coming back, she said. Natalie also said that her son and Karlie could no longer associate with each other because it was too damaging for them both. The birth parents in Australia's most notorious child abduction case were under immense pressure, but even though cause to find William seemed to be fading away, she said the pressure continued for all of them and the family. So it just goes on a bit more, but as just things that... This was one of the neighbours that was in the search for William. Here's her son. So this is Brandon. This is the biological father of William, and I believe this photo was one of the last ones that was taken.
Why is the face blurred out? Is it not William?
It just was in this article. It's pretty silly because we all kind of Jimmy wanting to get his face out there.
Oh, definitely.
I hate that they're so big. I will link this one as well down, so if anyone wants to go and read it, I'll make sure I put them all in the description. This is Karlie when she was actually pregnant with William. So yeah, I will link this article down if anyone wants to go over and read it. It's just goes through it all again.
This tree thing peeves me off. This was actually the stepfather who wrote it in the tree. I can't, knowing what his charges are in relation to, other things. I just can't even.
Okay, so now we're up to. I know they did look so young. My hat just goes off to her because, do you know what I mean? She's so brave for what she's been through, and I couldn't handle it. I know I wouldn't. Do you mean the other day my grandson hurt himself, and it wasn't even missing, it was just hurting himself, and I nearly lost myself over it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was terrible. I would be panicking too. Because it's not that type of injury can turn bad really quick if you don't get treated.
It was horrible. For those that don't know, my grandson on Australia Day had burnt himself. Scared the crappers out of this nana. We grabbed him and I put him under the shower and stood there until the ambulance came, and my daughter has been up and down from the hospital since. He did come home on a pressure machine for a week. They then got the pressure machine taken off and it was bandaged, and today he got the bandage off and he's doing really well. He's a star at the healing part, but still scared us. Okay, so this one is part 3 of the podcast. And it's the Spider-Man suit that haunts Australia.
Got my photos kind of here, thinking one day I'll put them on the wall. But
Yvette Elliott is showing me some photos in her home.
Yeah, it was just a moment in time where it kind of captured,
I've just arrived. We haven't set up for a proper interview yet, and Yvette's dog starts bouncing around us in excitement.
This was before. So this is William off the bed. And he
Must be
was,
under one.
when this was the good old days. So when we talk
Yvette's house is neat and nice. White walls, the afternoon sun coming through the windows. And Yvette herself is lovely. She's welcoming, but also worried. The photos make her think back to a different time, years ago now.
we lived in Lane Cove, so we were all Lane Cove ladies, and we all lived in and around Lane Cove.
Lane Cove is a suburb in Sydney. It's a bit posh. And the Lane Cove ladies were just that, a group of women who'd meet up once a month and talk about their lives and their careers and their children.
So we used to go to music festival, not music festival, but were they were like a wine and food festivals, and the kids would just dance at the front.
One of those kids was William Tyrrell.
That was the happy days.
Yeah, looks it.
You just wonder, what would we all be doing now if it wasn't for what happened?
Are you suggesting that what happened to William may have fractured that group?
Oh, absolutely. Everything regarding our relationship changed.
Years after William was reported missing, detectives turned up at Yvette's door without warning. She and I sit down together for the proper interview, and Yvette tells me what the police asked her.
It was incredibly targeted. It was very, very targeted, and they were trying to find something. And I asked them whether they had any suspects, and they said definitively yes, that they did. And there was a lot of questions. And I guess thinking back now, they were probably cleverly put together. Majority of it seemed to be very focused on William's mum.
After a couple of hours, Yvette tells me the police left. Finishing our interview, I turn off the microphone. And then Yvette tells me how, after saying goodbye to the detectives, she phoned her old friend, William's foster mother, saying, "I've just been interviewed by the police and it was the weirdest thing." And William's foster mother told her another of the Lane Cove ladies had just called, saying detectives had also been asking her questions. William's foster mother told Yvette the police were trying to throw her under the bus. I'm Dan Box, and from news.com.au, this is Witness, William Tyrrell. Episode 3, The Foster Parents.
Hello, hello, hello. Talking on mic 1. Door closed, light on.
Okay, so...
You know, I thought that was you saying that then, Maggie.
Every time I hear the foster parents, I just
Shut up.
I have to bite my tongue because I know if I had started on it, I'd be dropping the F-bombs more than a few times.
Yep, I know. This would be a very interesting one.
Yeah.
So this is unscripted.
Yeah.
So Nina, you're the producer on this podcast. You've seen more than most people. You've been through documents, interview statements, seen or listened to hours of interviews that we've done so far. So at this stage, months in, what do you think of the foster parents?
I think I'd like to say up front that I currently do not have any inkling, theory, predisposition on what happened to William. And the reason for that is if you read through everything, I think you could make a flimsy case for almost any person of interest. And that includes, to me, the foster parents.
It feels like everyone has an opinion on them. We can't name them for legal reasons, but their lives have been made public on front pages in newspapers and online in excruciating detail. Have a look at this. That is incoming passenger cards dug out of the National Archives.
So the date on this document is 1968?
Yeah, there's passenger cards from 1968 and 1970 showing the entry of a family into Australia from Papua New Guinea.
Okay, what's a passenger card?
Passenger card is when you fly into Australia or if you catch a ship in, you have to fill in your details, saying who you are, where you're going to be staying, who your parents are, if you're a child. And one of these passengers is a child, born a few years earlier. It's William's foster mother. And you can see her father's an engineer, her mother's listed as a housewife. The reason for their journey is a holiday. They're going to stay a month. You got the flight number, you got the address in Queensland where they're going to be staying. Someone's gone into the National Archives and dug these out, then shared them online.
Yeah.
They've been pored over and commented on, probably seen by, I'm guessing, hundreds, maybe thousands. These have been sent to journalists. So I've been sent them.
What's supposed to be the significance of it?
I don't know. The person who sent those to me told me you could do a whole podcast episode on those passenger cards.
Okay, I can say that's not interesting.
But that's the level of attention in William's foster mother and her husband.
I think that's terrible. And I couldn't imagine living like that, just having every element of your life under the microscope. It must be horrifying for them.
Okay. Let's jump forward to 1996.
So in 1996, I started working at a new company and she was already there.
This is another of the foster mother's close friends. She doesn't want to be identified. So these are her words, but not her voice.
So we kind of bonded at work and then bonded out of work and became a friendship outside of work as well.
And what was your impression of her?
Smart. She was smart. She was fun though. Like it was just, we'd go out shopping at lunchtime, sometimes just try on dresses. It was just fun. We were both sort of 30-ish. Yeah, I think I just turned 30 after I started there.
A few years later, this friend was a bridesmaid at the foster mother's wedding.
We went up the night before because they put on like welcome drinks for everybody on the Friday night. And then on the day we had hair and makeup done. It was just a happy day, We went in an old car and the groom and his groomsmen showed up in a helicopter, which I'm not sure if the bride even knew about. She probably did, but I didn't know. It was hilarious. The red helicopter came in. It was just fun. It was really, really nice.
She says the couple wanted to have a family, but they couldn't. And the reasons for that are personal and they're deeply painful. They did have IVF for years. William's foster mum would later tell detectives she wanted to have 5 or 6 children. She'd tell police that she also always wanted to foster and adopt. She'd say she'd always grown up wanting to help others. And it's weird, she'd tell police, that's a direct quote, but I always knew I would end up having children that weren't mine.
When they first started fostering, I was taken by how naturally they took to parenting.
This is from a written reference her friend would later provide for William's foster parents.
They were not foster parents, they were parents. None of our friendship group considered the children to be foster children. They were simply their children. They did what lots of other families with young children do. They had a toy room, they ate dinner together as a family, went on holidays to the park, bike riding adventures, and as the children grew up, they were a normal, close family.
I also spoke to another of the foster mother's close friends, Sarah.
I thought she was a wonderful parent. I mean, I thought she was very thoughtful and considered, very loving, and the children loved her.
Did you get any sense that there were difficulties within that household at that time?
Oh, no, none at all. I mean, I would say nothing other than what a normal parenting children family life is, like nothing's perfect, nothing's all roses and unicorns and rainbows. But no, I think her and her husband are both unbelievably good parents. And, and William in particular, if the foster father was away and then would come home and he'd be running towards him to greet him. The absolute love was amazing. And I think even, in the videos that they've had in the media, the home videos, like I think it's very evident.
Let's see if I can catch up with William. Woohoo! Here I come. Where's that William guy? He's doing really well. Hello.
A third friend, Yvette Elliott, showed me that photograph of their families together and talked about the Lane Cove ladies.
I remember just coming up to Christmas and, it was the gathering again of Lane Cove ladies, and our kids were all of the same age. William being a couple of years younger, was my son's shadow because he was the bigger boy. They were fun times, we were just living life. I guess there was, without thinking, it was just a magical time. There was no evil, there was no evilness that was to come.
William was 9 months old when he came to live with his foster parents. That was March 2012. So, Nina, this is the point when you start to have questions.
I don't necessarily have questions about the relationship between them and William because I think it's fairly documented. And the picture that's painted, I think, it paints a picture of a mother who is really struggling. She says at one stage that by 8 a.m. in the morning, she's already incredibly frustrated and can't believe that she could be feeling that way by 8 a.m. in the morning. And it isn't going to be sunshine and rainbows all the time. Totally understandable. Where I start to have questions is how the foster mother described the relationship with William to the police. there seems like there's a disconnect between what I'm seeing in the foster care documents and what has been painted as quite a happy relationship in police statements.
Well, let's unpack that a bit. So the foster parents have very rarely spoken.
Mhm.
This is them describing William.
He's the cheeky, vibrant little boy, full of energy, loves interacting with his sister. He loved interacting with us.
It's from an interview released by police less than a year after William was reported missing.
I mean, he's my little boy. Just brings me to tears.
They're pretty cheeky in that, aren't you?
They're very cheeky, but also that they've got that love, you know, and the father and boy love that he had. It was just,
And he adored his dad. Just absolutely, his eyes and there was a smile. Like I look back at some of the pictures, and I look at pictures when William was smiling for me, and I look at pictures where William was smiling for his dad, and it's different. Oh, completely. They adored each other, absolutely adored each other, and it's heartbreaking.
And a few months later, on the first anniversary of William's disappearance, William's foster parents recorded an interview with the journalist Leah Harris from the Sunday Telegraph. The audio's not great, but you can hear them saying the same thing one of their friends told me, how William would always be waiting for his foster father to arrive home from work.
He would always wait out the front with his sister. Well, as soon as I drove in the driveway, they would be just leaping, running, jumping. That was the highlight of my day every day, really, and I'm sure the highlight of theirs too. You know, and come home and hugs and cuddles and kisses, and go inside and start to do the routine of bath time and dinner and all those sorts of things.
8 years later, in 2022, the foster parents recorded another interview with Leah Harris, who by now was working as a TV reporter for Network 10. She asked them to describe their family life.
Just life was an adventure, and it was to be enjoyed, and it was all about learning and discovery, and just being so innocent, and just it's that joyness of just being so innocent and loving life that I remember most about William.
How did him coming into your lives change your lives?
Changed it forever, but in a really positive way.
Nina, what you were saying was that we've got more than one account of that family's life together. There's what we know from the foster care records, there's what we know from court hearings. In April 2012, a month after William came to stay with his foster parents, an official from the state government team that was supporting the foster care visits the home. And he'd later say in court, and I was there, that the foster parents disciplined William's sister using timeouts. But for them, timeout meant time outside. And the sister was 2 at the time.
See, that's judgment, but yeah, I would agree that's not appropriate for a 2-year-old, which is, I assume, what the foster care person was saying. Yeah.
And the foster mum also told this official that she'd threatened to smack William's sister but had never done it. And we've got other documents. So 11th of October 2013, William shows a strong preference for his foster dad but rejects interaction with his foster mum. And this is what you were talking about. 29th of October 2013, the foster mum emailed their caseworker about William's behavioural issues. And she says it's like he's operating at warp speed. He's recorded as being defiant and sullen at daycare. But both of those are after a contact visit with his biological parents. And that's a pattern. So the worst of it that I can find is William cutting the hair of other kids at childcare and deliberately urinating on the floor, which are pretty bad behaviours. And more than once, the foster mum emailed their caseworker saying she was struggling to understand why those contact visits couldn't be less frequent. And she says she was, quote, very tired physically and emotionally. Do you read anything into that?
I mean, that's one thing that upsets me, is why the foster mother's questioning the contact visits that William's having with his biological parents.
Oh
Because
yeah, definitely.
Do you know what I mean? Like, DOCS's job, or Department of Child Services job, is to try and keep the natural family together. Do you mean, as far as Karlie was concerned, and I think she said in that interview, if she didn't, I know there's other interviews she has, as far as she was concerned, William was going to be returned. As far as the foster parents have communicated, they were trying to adopt William and his older sister permanently. So it's just...
Oh, keep going.
Yeah, it's just sad. It's just...
I just wanted to I wanted to ask you, the fact what they just said there about wanting to lower the contact visits, that seems a bit controlling, doesn't it?
That's exactly what I mean. Like, who is the foster mum to be able to say that? Foster mum sounds like she had a short temper. I do know from the research that I've done, do you mean I'll have to go and find it, because, as I said, this is a case that has never left me. But I do know that there was incidents with William and the foster mother before William went missing where she was struggling to control him. He wasn't doing as she wanted. I know that the punishment was a problem. Do you mean there was incidents where he was turning up to the supervised contacts with bruises and they were being recorded? And it went as far as she was threatening to return William before he went missing.
Ugh.
Oh, sorry, I didn't get good vibes with the foster parents. Jeremy, I don't, because I still believe that the foster parents know. I'm not saying I 100% know what happened. I wasn't there. Do you know what I mean? It's just, we're just going from someone who's just looked at the case. But yes, I do believe that the foster parents know a lot more than what they have let on about what happened.
Yeah,
But I
mean,
want to also give the evidence. I don't want to just think that it's biased too.
We also know from what we did get from the inquest is that she was charged, or I'm not sure if it's charged or not, but she was
There was
accused of lying to the court or missing.
So the prosecutors put it to the DPP to have her charged because they believed, do you know what I mean, a theory that William had fallen from the balcony. But when it went to the DPP, they looked at all the evidence, and for whatever reason, they said there's not enough to charge them, because if it went to court, do you mean it wouldn't? There was some court cases done. That's why I said I will go back and look to see if there's any more. But as far as I know, nothing came of it. Because at the same time was when we had the charges come up, because when they were investigating the foster mother for that is when the cameras were put in, and the phones were tapped, and that's when they caught the recordings of what the foster parents were doing to the older daughter. What was it? They were hitting her with spoons and kicking her. She was removed from their care, and then they got charged with intimidating a witness as well. And I believe they're still going through court for them ones. So I will, before the next episode, it's up to Mac J to remind me, but I will double check on all the court dates so that I can bring them out and say, right, this is the dates and this is what's there for.
Another question here. I think it's a question.
The dogs didn't pick up anything. Like when they came out with the theory, as I said, it was 3 weeks. They took the grandmother's car away. And they spent 3 weeks at the house and in the surrounding areas, up at the horse riding club, what was one of the spots that they thought she had gone that day. Yeah. Did they have any parenting experience before fostering? It's a big job having a 3-year-old. My 3-year-old is very full on and it takes a... Megan, I full on agree. My grandson is only 18 months old and I know how much of a handful he is. I don't believe they did. I believe that William and they did have William's sister before William and then they got William. What about the dad's car? The dad's car wasn't there at the time. So because the foster father had gone away for his phone call, it wasn't there when William went missing. It was the grandmother's, like the foster grandmother's car that was seen by a truck driver. Hi, Kitty Witty. How are you, my darling? There was a truck driver that had... Like he has spoke in the inquest, and I do know that in this podcast he does come up. But he had seen the foster mother in 2 different areas. So he was going into Kendall and he seen her. She parked on the side of... So Kendall's on a freeway. No, it used to be. It's not anymore, but it used to be on the freeway before they made the new one. And where the truck had parked, and where the foster mother had parked the car was so close to the truck that the truck actually had to back to be able to get out. And he said that is why he noticed the car. And then he went and dropped his load off and then was coming back through and still seen her driving around. Now, this is at the crucial time that the foster mother should have been looking for William. And this is why it's come up in the inquest and why it's been spoke about. But yeah, and he did, do you know what I mean, go to the inquest and give that evidence.
Yep. I just think this is like, it doesn't get as much attention internationally, but I would say this is like the equivalent to America's Sebastian Rogers case. Like,
yep, Summer Wales as well.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
Yeah. I just pray one day we get the answers. Do you know what I mean? It's a case that's been on my heart for 10 years. I know that.
Oh, we waited. That was you mentioned it earlier. Daniel McCombie case.
Daniel Malcolm.
I was in school around the high school around the same time as he was, and I knew one of his siblings from the what do they call it? The swimming sports teams. Yeah. So yeah, that kind of made me. It kind of haunted me until they solved it. Like, you know, I don't speak to that person anymore, but you know, at the time, it was very upsetting for them.
See, I remembered we were on the Gold Coast when Daniel Malcolm happened, and my children were only young at that time, so it really hit me because, Jimmy, and I thought it could have, what if that was my child? And I know here in Queensland, it brought down the laws that no child was to be left behind on bus stops. So now it's actually a law all through Queensland. If bus drivers drive past any child on the side of the road, whether it's a bus stop or not, they have to stop and pick them up. They cannot leave the children, because that's what happened. Do you know what I mean? The bus didn't come past that was supposed to come past, and in the time that they knew another one was coming, it was only a couple of minutes, but that's all it took for him to take, for Daniel to be taken, and the sad outcome. Playing together. That's yes, they were on the veranda. So the foster mother's story is that they were on the front veranda together. And then he started running around the house playing a raw game, and he's gone round one side and just not returned back around again. And his sister has, like, I've got, she's only ever done one interview, and I do have the transcript of that interview. And in that interview, she does actually turn around and say that when she gets older, she wants to become a detective to help find what happened to William. And that tells you straight away she didn't see what happened.
Agree.
As much as we would love to get answers, yeah. Most definitely. I've watched a couple of streams. Happy 9th birthday to Summer Wells. It's another case I followed so much.
Oh, another chaotic case, that one.
It is, but you don't, now that Sebastian's come out, you don't hear about Summer, and it's so sad. I was actually, today it was nice seeing people talk about her again because of her birthday.
Yeah, I agree.
But it shouldn't be that way.
Mm.
I'm going to start this and go and let my cat out because he's annoying me. I swear he thinks he owns me, this cat.
Oh, my dog's the same way. One of those little dogs.
Yeah, well, this cat it was a rescue that my daughter rescued, but it's decided that I'm its owner. And it's been sitting here annoying me and crying at me for the last 5 minutes because it wants to go outside. So I'm going to go put it out. I'll be back.
No worries.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that all sounds relatively what I would expect for a child who's in foster care. He's quite a young child. I can imagine that it would be really confusing for a kid to have these regular visits with one set of parents, go home to another set of parents, and struggle to understand that. So that all sounds, I think, okay. And I can imagine that she would be feeling tired and frustrated.
And look, being a parent isn't easy.
No.
So you're a parent, I'm a parent. I've got a 3-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 13-year-old, and I get tired. And at times, I might have thrown things just to deal with. I mean, there's frustration. There's been times when the 3-year-old and I are both shouting at each other. But the difference is my life isn't documented.
It's not documented. Yeah.
So there is evidence in these documents that William's foster care placement was working. And you can hear it in those home videos.
Go, William.
And in the documents, his foster care placement is described as being very stable. When William had his 3rd birthday, his foster mum made him a cake in the shape of a fire engine.
Happy birthday, William.
I did it.
Have you finished?
No, I did it.
Lick your fingers, lick your hand.
And William told his caseworker that he really loved his party, which was held in the family's backyard. There was friends from daycare and neighbours. This is mid-2014, a few months before he went missing. And at times, the records of his foster care show his behaviour seeming to get better. It might take only 20 or 30 minutes to settle him in bed at night rather than hours. At other times, though, his behaviour is harder to manage. There's hyperactivity. He's described as slapping and punching his carers. He's defiant, oppositional behaviour. It's not the simple, happy family that the foster care parents have described in public. And William's foster mum is quite a private person, and she's quite controlled and maybe controlling. This is her talking to Leah Harris again.
it's just so personal for us. I feel like I want to keep a lot of those really special memories for us personal. They're our family memories. And I know people want to know more, but I've just got to keep some things private and special. It's just really hard now to keep talking about what happened on that morning.
William's foster care worker went to the family's house on the 5th of September 2014. So that's 9 days before William goes missing. And the records say that William ran up and hugged his caseworker around his legs. William was wearing his Spider-Man costume, which was his favourite. And the foster mum said William's behaviour had been a struggle since the last contact visit with his parents. And for a while, there'd been this back and forth where William's foster mother wanted to have fewer contact visits and William's birth mother wanted more. The foster parents wanted to formally adopt William, but they feared his birth mother would fight that in court. One thing that does strike me about this case is a lot of it comes down to judgments on motherhood.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, you mentioned the birthday party.
Yeah.
I was looking at a photo from that birthday party on social media. One person says the candles aren't even lit. How is this really a birthday party? The candles aren't even lit. Then someone else comes in and goes, this is incredibly dangerous because William is sitting at the corner of the table and it's pointed right at his neck. Any slip from any person could knock him onto the table. And there was like 20, 30 comments of people picking apart this photo. Literally a photo of a little boy smiling in front of a birthday cake.
Well, so making judgments on
the foster mother's parenting, yeah.
You do see that. The trolls online compare the two mothers. So I've seen posts describing Karlie as William's natural mother and saying that her family needs reunification, saying William belongs to his natural mother and the thoughts of foster parents are irrelevant. And I've seen another where that says William's mummy pleads don't hurt him while the fosters still hide their faces. But you can't help but compare the two sets of parents. And you can't help but compare the life William had with his foster parents to the life he had before. So William's foster parents take him and his sister on expensive holidays, months apart, to the Gold Coast, to Cairns, to Bali. When his birth mum is told about the Bali trip, she says, they went again? Lucky them. And there were other trips, including to Kendal on the mid-north coast of New South Wales. William's foster mother's parents lived there.
It was normally a long weekend, like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or a Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or something like that. Might be once every 3 or 4 months, especially Nana's birthday or what it might be. There'd be an occasion, but it's also a good time to catch up.
Kendal's about a 4 or 5 hour drive north from Sydney, which is not an easy thing to do with young children.
The trip included, at the halfway point, stopping at their favourite little snack that they'd get, which would be McDonald's. I mean, that's really the only time that they would actually get it on the way up and on the way back, I think it was, because it's the halfway point. They get their, Happy Meal type thing and they got excited, but they're still excited about the overall journey, which was to Nana's. So that was what they were looking forward to.
William's foster nana lived in a big house at the top of a wide dead-end road called Benaroon Drive.
That location, it's quiet. The only people who go up that road are typically the people who live there.
It's a cul-de-sac.
At Mum and Dad's place, they knew it. He knew it. He's incredibly comfortable there. So,
he knew the layout. He knew everything.
You have to assume that children are safe in their own backyards and in their own homes, and they've been up there more than enough.
But the lead up to that last visit was unsettled. William's foster grandfather had recently died. His foster nana was about to sell the house. And there were emails from the time between William's foster mother and his caseworker talking again about those contact visits with the biological parents. And on the 9th of September, William's foster mum sends his caseworker an email saying, "I am close to giving up or in." And that phrase, "close to giving up or in," would get repeated over and over in the years since, both online and in the newspapers. One newspaper said the phrase appears to explain at least some of the dramatic developments in the police investigation that followed. And it's used to almost imply that there's something darker about the foster mum. And it does contrast with what the foster mum later told police. Have a look at this. So this is a copy of the foster mum's interview with police, or one of her interviews with police.
Yeah. So this is a police report from 2016.
2016.
So this is not the initial statement that she gave to police.
This is a couple of years later.
Okay. So it says, and this is the thing that kills me about this, is that he and I were just reaching that absolute 100% open, true mum-son relationship. And he was just beautiful.
Which does seem to directly contrast this idea that she's close to giving up or giving in. But when you actually read the full email chain, I think it's been misreported. I don't think, in the context of that email chain, that the foster mum is talking about giving up or giving in about William's behaviour. The sentence is, "I'm close to giving up or in. I don't have the energy to argue against this."
That's a good point.
I think giving up or giving in is about the back and forth on the number of contact visits with the biological parents. The email chain shows that they're not going to reduce the number of visits like the foster mum has asked. And the foster mum is reacting against this back and forth, but she's close to giving in. She's not giving up or giving in about being a foster mum or about dealing with William's behaviour, which is how it's been presented in the years that have followed.
Is that
so? Is she trying to blackmail Department of Child Services to get what she wants?
Yeah, I I tend to agree with that one.
That's exactly how that just sounded. Don't give me what I want, and I'll just give in and give the child back.
Oh yeah.
One interpretation. Should I read the whole sentence?
Go for it, yeah.
Okay. So she's replying to an email. "I haven't censored my initial thoughts because they are still there, but I am close to giving up or in. I don't have the energy to argue against this." And this is what you're saying, arguing against the visits. "I'm feeling pretty ragged at the moment. William has not settled one bit and is still overly emotional, but managing it better with help." It's possible. I get your interpretation of it. I still think, reading through the whole chain, that she was a woman who was struggling.
Yeah. In that same email, the foster mum says the family are going up to her mum's house in Kendal that weekend. So the plan is to go up on the Friday, which is the 12th of September 2014. But the day before, so Thursday, the 11th of September, they make a snap decision to go up a day early. So they book their cats in for boarding at short notice, and they drive up, stopping at McDonald's. And they recorded ordering at the counter on CCTV. So all of that has been confirmed by police. And the foster mother's phone records from that day have been published online. So you can see that apart from William's caseworker and William's foster nana, who she calls, and maybe the staff at McDonald's, and maybe the people looking after their cats, because they go up early, no one knows that William is going to be in Kendal the next morning. So they got there late in the evening of the 11th, about 8:30 or 9 o'clock. The kids went to bed. William is sharing a room with his foster dad, and William's sister is sharing with their mum. And the grown-ups sat up talking. The foster dad was tired. He went to bed next. William was not scared of the dark, and at home he slept with the door shut. William was the first to wake up on the 12th of September according to his foster parents. In one of their conversations with Leah Harris, William's foster father said they watched TV together.
William and I were in one room, but William wanted to watch, I think it was Bananas in Pyjamas or something like that, or Fireman Sam, and so we were watching that in the morning, and so it was good fun because he was giggling and laughing and enjoying himself.
And that was the sound that you woke to that morning?
Yeah,
the
the laughter. The laughter.
Yeah.
His giggle was
just
infectious.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah, people would hear that and you couldn't help but smile.
Yeah.
William's foster mother told police that she got him dressed that morning.
I remember the discussion I had with William about putting on his Spider-Man clothes because I wanted him to wear a singlet. He didn't want to wear a singlet, so the compromise was he'd wear a Spider-Man T-shirt underneath his Spider-Man clothes, so he was Spider-Maned out completely. All these little things that I just remember. It was just a normal family doing normal family things.
Except one thing wasn't normal. In another of their conversations with the journalist Leah Harris, William's foster mother described seeing 2 cars parked on the dead-end road opposite her mum's house.
When we woke up, I always open up the sliding door that's on the veranda looking out back down Benaroon Drive from Mum's place. And as I opened it and I walked out, because there's normally a kookaburra that comes up onto the balcony of the veranda and I sort of just say hello to the kookaburra. But I'm looking out over the veranda and I see 2 cars. And I see these 2 cars just sitting there in the road. And my first thought was, oh, that's odd. I looked at these cars thinking, why would 2 cars be parked on Benaroon Drive? And I looked again, and both these cars had their driver's side windows down. And I just looked again and I thought, oh, that's weird, because they were parked in the middle of 2 driveways. And, and I had direct view of them. They would have had direct view of me. But I thought it's odd and went back inside and didn't think another thing of it.
It's odd because you don't see a lot of cars parked on Benaroon Drive. There's few houses there and each of them has got a long drive with space for a few cars. So you don't park on the road if you live there or if you're visiting. And you don't go there unless you do live there or you've got a good reason to do so. And something else is odd too. William's foster mother told Leah Harris she forgot about seeing the 2 cars, then remembered seeing them the same night.
I realised that night that William went missing that I had actually seen 2 cars.
But she told police she didn't remember this until a few days later.
I remember reporting the other cars to the guys in the police rescue van that was parked here when we picked up my sister from the airport. It was on the way home from the airport. I'm driving the car and I just went, there were cars there. And my sister goes, what cars? And I've gone, oh my God. So that's when I've talked about the 2 cars.
So maybe that's a mistake. One time she says she remembered seeing the cars that night, and another time she says she remembered seeing the cars a few days later. But there are other confusions. On one occasion, William's foster mother seems to say one of the cars was on the road the morning she reported William missing when the first police officer arrived. His name was Chris Rowley.
Because when Chris Rowley came up, he was a responding policeman from when I called below. I actually walked across where that white station wagon was because I met him on the road. And as Chris Rowley's coming up Benaroon Drive, I'm on the left-hand side, standing near where that white car, that white station wagon was.
I think I have a picture. So this is the 2 cars, or a picture of the 2 cars that they're talking about that was seen, or that they think that they saw. These 2 cars have never been found. Any proof of these cars haven't been found. But that's the 2 cars that they're talking about.
Do either of these look similar to the step parents' cars, you think?
The foster parents?
Yeah, foster parents.
No. No, these were. There are a lot of people in the Kendall area that aren't above the law. It's something I will say there. Do you know what I mean? I think that there was a massive amount of like the pedos and everything around the area as well.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of drug takers around there. Do you know what I mean? This could have even just been a drug deal being done on the side of the road. It could have been, do you mean people just visiting others or even just stopping for a chat off the highway? It's not something they've ever found evidence of or... Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Because it's also funny that the foster mother forgot about that. Like, if your child or foster child went missing, would you not remember strange cars that was around the house that day?
Oh, totally.
I mean, it's something she'd forgotten and was an afterthought.
I've walked past it.
So it's not obvious there if William's foster mother is saying she walked past the white station wagon when Chris Rowley arrived, or if she's saying she walked past where the station wagon had been. But in her interview with police, she seems more certain. She says the cars weren't there when Chris Rowley arrived.
I'm not making this up. Those cars were there and they were outside that house. And when Chris Rowley came up, those cars weren't there.
So, listening to the different interviews, you might not be sure if William's foster mother is consistent on whether the station wagon was there or it wasn't.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I found that the description of the cars, I definitely noticed this as well, that she's been a bit inconsistent about the timings of the cars. It seems to me that the police haven't been able to verify at any point over the years that the cars were there.
You're right.
Yeah.
In his witness statement, Chris Rowley, the police officer, doesn't mention the cars being there. And the police have asked neighbours, and nobody says they saw them. So why might the cars be important?
Well, the cars are important if we're looking at the theory that William was abducted, right? So if we're looking at the abduction theory, which is already statistically the least likely thing to have happened, those cars being there and the time that they were there is really, really important to nail down. If the cars, in fact, weren't there and they can verify that they weren't there, then that makes a case in a completely different direction. So that's just as important.
And in different interviews, it's William's foster mum who keeps coming back to the importance of her seeing those cars.
So either they're involved or they've seen what's happened. And we just need them to come forward to say, this is what we saw.
So from your memory, were they gone when you realised that William had gone missing? Were they not there anymore?
I realised that they weren't there that night when I remembered walking across the road to see Chris Rowley.
So there, William's foster mother is again talking about remembering seeing those cars that night. And to make it all more confusing, there was a witness who was interviewed by police only years later, who described seeing a white Holden driving near where William was reported missing on the day he disappeared. Only that witness described seeing a Holden sedan, not a station wagon, which William's foster mother described. And any inconsistency in someone's evidence, it can attract suspicion.
They took our laptops.
And we were grilled. We were
were
completely grilled, separately in isolations and in back of detectives' vehicles. They took my vehicle away. They completely searched it, checked it.
Yeah.
They did everything.
And we had multiple conversations with multiple police people and, detectives and all sorts of other police, always just checking in, just looking at, corroborating things, checking with us, all sorts of things. And I remember saying to you that we would had to have been their prime suspects because we were the last people to see him. And if they didn't completely investigate us, I would be absolutely gobsmacked because you've got to rule us out.
I remember at the time I was newspaper reporter speaking to a senior detective days after William disappeared, and he told me, we've ruled out both sets of parents. And then the years passed, and the Department of Family and Community Services, so the state government body that manages foster care, continued to give William's foster parents other children to look after. And that feels like a judgment on them as parents as well, saying these guys are safe, we can give them other children to look after. William's foster parents kept calling for more public attention on William's disappearance.
Here for some wonderful kids. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to the Kendall Public School Choir, who are going to sing Bring Him Home. The official Where's William campaign theme song is chosen by William's mummy and daddy. Give them a big round of applause.
We're coming up to a very important week. Where's William week, the search for little William Tyrrell.
Up to 1,000 people to pack into the Kendall Showgrounds to offer their support not only to William Tyrrell's family, but what is called a Walk for William. Now, these will be held across New South Wales as well.
Flyers, they're asking for everyone to get involved, get on board. If you know something, please say something.
We can't let people forget William. We can't. It's a 3-year-old boy that was abducted. How can we, public police, say that's okay and let it go?
They also called for more police attention on William's disappearance, including in this interview with Leah Harris.
Will you ever give up fighting for him?
Never.
Never.
Till my last breath.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If police think they've seen the last of us, big mistake.
You won't be going quietly.
We will not give up on William, and we will not let other people give up on him. He is too important to give up on. Never going to happen, ever.
William's foster parents have declined to be interviewed for this series on advice from their lawyers. I have met them. We meet in safe houses, different hotels. And when we meet, we turn off our phones, which might sound paranoid, but they have reason to be paranoid. William's foster parents know in recent years that the police have been intercepting their calls. They know they've had listening devices in their homes and surveillance cameras outside it. And we'll get into all of that later in this series. William's foster mother has given us a written statement, and it's the first time she's said anything in public about William's disappearance in the years since she was publicly identified in the media and by the police as a suspect. These are her words. Just over 10 years ago, my little boy, William Tyrrell, disappeared from my mother's yard at her house at Kendall. I believe that William was taken. I have no idea who took William or what happened to him. If he is in fact dead, I have no idea where his little body is. I have no knowledge of or involvement in his disappearance. Even though William was not my child by birth, I loved William as much as any mother could love her child. I loved him as if he was my child by birth, if not more. It did not matter one bit that he was not connected to us biologically. William made my life complete. I loved him fiercely. I just loved being his mummy. My life with William was happy, fun, and an adventure. Every day was different. Never, ever for a moment did I regret becoming a foster mother. We were a family, not the traditional version of a family. It didn't matter. We were and still are a family, and we connected as one. For the past 5 years, the police have done nothing to try to discover who took William and what has happened to him. Instead, they have concentrated all their efforts on trying to build a case that I was in some way to blame for his death and the disposal of his precious little body. They have gone to great lengths to blacken my character in the media. I believe that if the police had properly investigated this case, instead of persecuting me, they may well have found the person responsible for William's disappearance. It's challenging to have hope and build plans for the future when our hearts remain shattered and in pieces. All I can hope for is that some person who knows something comes forward.
I wonder how much of that she still would say today.
Honestly, I wonder if someone, to me, it sounds like a PR statement, you know, like, or a very, it doesn't sound honest. I'm going to be honest. It just sounds like a PR firm wrote it.
Mm-hmm. Like it's been put together for her.
Yep.
Beautiful, Linny. How are you, my darling? Good to see you. Who else did I see? Matt come in and 88 slices of cake. We haven't seen you in here before. Welcome in. You might get in trouble for being on this side, but still welcome in. But yeah, there's not much left. A couple more minutes.
Working on this podcast, I drove up to the house of Yvette Elliott, the old friend of William's foster parents, who told me about the Lane Cove ladies. We talked about how for years after William went missing, different police seemed to agree the foster parents had nothing to do with his disappearance. But something must have made them suspicious. Because Yvette told me how detectives turned up at her house asking questions in October 2021.
It was incredibly targeted. It was very, very targeted, and they were trying to find something, and I had nothing to give them.
They told you they had a suspect. They didn't tell you who it was at that stage?
No, they didn't necessarily categorically mention William's mum, but when you look back at the pointed questions and how much time was spent on her personality, on her relationships, on who she was as a person, then, it was very much, I became very much aware of who they were focused on.
Looking back now at that interview with the police and everything that's happened before, after William went missing, what's your perspective of the police now, and has that changed?
Before, I had the absolute respect for police, and when I was 18 I wanted to join the police, so I absolutely held the police in the highest regard. I don't feel that way anymore. I'm nervous for William's mum and dad, because it feels like a very targeted campaign. And now their attention is only turned to one person, and that terrifies me.
After leaving Yvette's, I also spoke to 2 other friends of William's foster parents. They both described how the police came asking questions.
I found the questioning I didn't understand why they wanted to know about her past boyfriends and what's the relevance? Asking me things like, what sort of family were they? And I just said, they're just a normal family. Well, do they sit down and have dinner together? And I'm like, yeah. I don't know. They just felt like they were trying. It felt like they knew what they wanted to know, and they were trying to find evidence to support that. And I was like, I'm the wrong person. I'm the wrong person.
Why were you the wrong person?
Well,
Kitty Witty, I think the main thing was with the foster mother, and it was basically because of the truck driver who gave the evidence that she was driving around in the foster mother's car. And do you mean this was within the half an hour of William going missing? So it begs to differ why. I'm sure there's a lot of other things too. We don't know all of the, obviously we've only got half of the book. We don't know what they've got, but they obviously had enough evidence that they wanted to lay charges. So there must have been a lot of things that they had to point it to the foster mother. I mean, it would be very interesting, and I really hope when we get the inquest that we get a lot more information handed down to us, but something we don't know just yet. I would love to know what they have on her.
Oh, me too. I would love to know.
Because I don't believe that they had anything to do with William's disappearance. So, and I've known his foster mother since 1996, right? And I know her well. I've been on holidays with her. I've been her bridesmaid. Like, I know her well.
There's also something else. Another reason I wanted to talk to this woman in particular. That's because her name came up in court last year. One of the detectives investigating William's disappearance, Sean Ogilvie, was giving evidence about all the evidence they've gathered, including, quote,
Linny, it's been 10 years that he's been missing. No, longer. He went missing in 2014. So it'll be 11 years this September.
a substantial number of witness statements. Sean Ogilvie said 4 people had declined to give a witness statement, and he named them. This woman is one of those 4 people. And you're one of those 4 names. What did you think when you heard that?
I was just super angry that my friends had to sit in a courtroom and hear that I refused to support them because I was never asked. I did not decline. I was never asked. I was never even asked to provide a statement or that reference or whatever it was. I have provided other references in the past. I've recently been asked to provide one for my friend's lawyer. I did it that day. I was never, ever asked to provide that, and it made me very angry that my name was read out and that they had to sit there and listen to that.
If you had been asked to give a statement, what would you have said?
Well, I don't know. I don't know anything about what they were asking. I don't know what they were asking for because I was never asked.
If they were asking you if you'd ever seen any evidence that William's foster mum or foster dad could intimidate a child, what would you have said?
Yeah, I've seen the dad be a bit cranky, but nothing outside the ordinary bounds of parenting. Parenting kids is hard. Not everyone's an angel. You lose your temper sometimes, but that's what I would have said. Not physical, though.
Do you think they were good parents?
I do. I really do. They really made a family for those children. They got into bike riding and, the back room at their house before they renovated, the whole back room was just for the kids' play area with chalkboards, bags of toys, and there was always laughter in that house. They were a fun family.
And that's what you would have told the police if you had given that statement?
Yeah.
So, did the police get confused? Were they mistaken to say this woman declined to give a witness statement? Why are the police targeting William's foster parents? And who's in charge of their investigation? That's next time on Witness.
I'll always stand up for this little boy. Do you mean it wasn't the case that got me into true crime, but this is probably one of the ones that kept me here the longest. I have done Lindy Chamberlain. She was the one that got me into true crime. But yeah, William's always going to have a spot in my heart. Always. I mean, I feel for his biological parents, both of them. I feel for all his family. Just, yeah, he was let down by so many people.
Oh, he was let down by foster parents, the system, law enforcement to a degree.
Yeah.
It's just incredibly sad.
Now, just before we go, I just wanted to mention now I have a community post that I have put up because Mac J and I are really trying to build the channel up. We are starting with obviously coming back and trying to do our 3 each week. I know me having my computer go down didn't help. But we also want to bring in another part where I have so many crime books. Do you know what I mean? It's something, what's your input on Peggy case of the husband that had a heart attack? I don't know that case. So I couldn't give you my input. But yeah, so I have so many crime books. So what I've decided to do is I want to share some of them with you. I have picked 3 that I've got. Some are new, some aren't. And I have a post on my community wall where you can go and see each 3. I don't know what the ABC, I got it on there. So one is, we got this one the other day when we went to Australia Zoo, and it's Terry Irwin's My Steve. And obviously it's about Terry Irwin and Steve Irwin and what their life. The second one is Searching for Spider-Man. I love this story. It's actually a banned book in Australia.
Really?
I do have a copy, yes.
Why did they ban it?
It just was. It was like just after it was a couple of years after it was made, it was banned. It is wrote by one of the neighbors that actually went out searching for William on the day that he went missing. But yeah, it took me a lot to get this because by the time I went looking, it had already been banned and I did end up to get a copy. So Searching for William. And the other one is just another one of my favorites, and it's In the Mine of Murderers. So it's just another section we're going to put on. It might be me coming live and reading it or doing recorded ones of me just reading a chapter or 2 and putting it out depending on what time we have, because I'm at the moment studying 2 courses. I'm doing the criminology one at home, and I'm also doing a childcare one with my daughter. So I'm flat out studying. But yeah, we really want to bring this section in. So the one thing I ask is if you could go over to the community post and just, it's A, B, or C. You don't have to write which ones. Neighbor, not the nosy Nate's mother's book. No. This one is, it was a neighbor to this case. Like, she was a neighbor of the parents, the grandparents, and she was one of the people that literally went looking for William on the day. And it's all of her, I mean, she continued to research the case, obviously, years after, and it's all of her things on how she felt, things that she's seen. I'm not saying it's all factual because, there was obviously reasons that it was taken off the shelves, but it is her take of what she saw. So it's just another perspective. And that's what I mean. Like, I know I have my feelings on this case, but we want to try and bring it to everybody. and all perspectives, because just because of how I feel or how Mac J feels, that doesn't mean that that's got to be how you feel. We just want to bring as much evidence and as much facts as we can, and just keep the story out there, because do you mean, well, I know for me, I watched so many other cases, whether it be Sebastian Rogers or, do you mean Summer, or whatever story it is, but it's always William that's in my heart, because that's our story. And that's why I just wanted to make one day a week where we could talk about William. And yeah, I don't know, Kitty Witty, I don't know why it was banned. I just know it was. I have spoke to the lady who wrote it, because I asked her to come on the channel and she declined, so I accept that. But yeah, it is what it is. It would have been, yeah, and she's wrote it into a book. Jimmy, I find it fascinating. Some of the things that are in there, I find absolutely fascinating. But I will be honest, I mean, it is what the book is, and it's just another person's take on what happened. And I think we need to listen to everybody. And not to say whether, if it's not the book that's picked, if someone picks something, like if the majority picks another book, I can always put some of these books, if they're popular, back into the next three that we pick. But yeah. So yeah, I think that's about it. We are coming back on Friday. I know we're supposed to be doing Sebastian, but on the weekend we went to Australia Zoo for my birthday. My daughter paid for me to go and see the meerkats because they're one of my favorite animals. So I actually got to go in and hold them and everything. I have heaps of photos and videos of the day. Australia Zoo, for people that don't know, is I think it's one of the most gorgeous zoos in Australia. The park itself is beautiful. And I'm putting together, I have been doing it for like all week, and I'm still only about halfway through. I'm still doing it. But I've been putting it all together into a video and a presentation. Friday night, myself, Mac J, and Spirit Time is going to also join us. And we're going to talk about the day, talk about what happened, look at some photos, some videos, just sit back and have fun and share one of our spots. So I suppose that's the best way you can put it. Matt, can I say how good it is to see you back in our chats? I have missed you. Meerkats they are so beautiful. It was like
what did you just say, Ozzy? It cut out. And
I said the meerkats are beautiful, because Lenny put about the meerkats. It was like holding a teacup chihuahua on my hand. And it was really funny, because one of the things is, and I didn't know this about meerkats, is they're apparently really silly. So they will fall and forget that they've even fallen. And I had my hands like this with the meerkat, and it kept standing right on the edge of my hand. And it would forget that it couldn't, because a meerkat will hold its weight by its tail, kind of like a kangaroo. It's how they balance. And because of where he was standing, he couldn't get balance with his tail either. So he would go so close to the end of my fingers that he would just fall off and hit the ground. You couldn't catch them, like we were told not to catch them. So he would hit the ground and he would just sort of stand up, shake his head, and just run straight back up, because they forgot that they just fell. So they just go straight back to that spot. It was really silly, but anyway, I thought it was cute. But yeah, so Friday night, 7:30, same time as this one. Even Love the Ruse. Everything there is gorgeous. Lenny, you would love Australia Zoo. But I do. I have so many videos, and that's what I'm trying to fit them all in. There is some I'm trying not to put in, because obviously we took the grandkids, so there's some that I'm trying not to, but it's just yeah, there's so many, and I want to share them all with people. Like, I haven't even put them up on Facebook yet because I've been trying to put them all into the presentation. But,
Speaking of kangaroos, where I live, there's like a university campus, and they let the kangaroos or wallabies run free. And the unfortunate thing is there's roo poo everywhere. But they're
it's
really
funny.
beautiful.
I stopped seeing them in Melbourne, and since we've moved back here, I've seen so many again. It's like,
yeah.
I'm not saying they're not in they are in Victoria, but just because I think I live too close to the city. But then again, I'm not so far out of Brisbane either, and we've seen them around here. They are great to watch. I could sit there all day. It was funny. Like, even when we were at the kangaroos, I know I've got one of Spirit Time doing it, but I was feeding the kangaroos and he had his little paws and he was like holding the side of my hand. Do you think one person in my family got a photo or a video of that?
No. Isn't that the way?
I'm like sitting there, I'm like, where's the one of me feeding it? Okay, I guess that wasn't taken. But yeah, they are beautiful. YouTube friend showed us her property in Australia and her stays. Yeah. My nana brought one up. She found one on the side of the road and she checked. She always taught us, if you ever see them, to check their pouches, and we do. But she checked a pouch and there was a baby in it, and my nana took it home. She fed it. She used to carry it around in a bag. I still remember it as a kid. She would carry it around in the bag. She'd go to the pub and everything and take this kangaroo with her. We used to tie it up because I lived with my grandma at the time. We used to tie it up to the fence and to the clothesline. And when it eventually got too big, they took it off her and put it in a zoo and then gave my nana a lifetime pass to go to the zoo so she could go and visit the kangaroo.
Oh.
But yeah, it's something I always remember. We even have photos of us with the kangaroo tied around the clothesline.
Oh.
Yeah, look out for the poo. I've seen your mooses. They scare me. Literally how big they get. Why is that? Just my mouse isn't working with me. Yeah, I've seen pictures. I don't know if you have, Mac J, but look up how big the mooses get over there. It's huge. But anyway, I think that's it for tonight. So I will look up those DPP dates and I will get these links into the description before I go to bed tonight. And have them, and yeah, we'll see what we can find for next week's. And other than that, we'll see you all Friday.
Yes.
And thanks, Mac J.
No worries.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Of a true crime on the rise. Investigate the scene, uncover the lies. From Melbourne to Sydney, all the way to Perth. No case too tough, we'll dig into the dirt. We'll crack the code, find the truth, bring justice to the table. No excuse, Australian legends in the game, bringing light to darkness, no shame. Just got a super child, let's celebrate. Raise a glass for all the cases we've solved in the past. With eyes wide open, we'll never rest. Aussie true crime, we're the best. From cold cases to missing persons, we'll leave no stone unturned. Every virgin detectives in our hearts will never give up. But justice and truth will always hear us. Ooh, thank you so much. Let's celebrate, raise a glass for all the cases we solved in the past. With eyes wide open, we'll never rest. Aussie true crime, we're the best. Let's celebrate, raise a glass for all the cases we've solved in the past. With eyes wide open, we'll never rest. Aussie true crime, we're the best. Let's celebrate, raise a glass for all the cases we've solved in the past. With eyes wide open, we'll never rest. Aussie true crime, we're the best. Raise a glass for all the cases we've solved in the past. With eyes wide open, we'll never rest. Aussie true crime, we're the best. Thank you so much.